The sky was grey. Thunder cracked like it wanted to split the world open. Rain hammered the jungle without mercy, and the SEAL team was falling apart. 36 hours on mission. No sleep, no food. Ammo almost gone. Their boots sank into mud as they tried to move uphill. Every step heavier than the last. The radio screamed static, no signal, no backup. Commander Reese wiped the dirt from his eyes. He could barely see his own men through the smoke. Then movement. Figures in the fog. The enemy. Closing in. Fall back, he shouted. But there was nowhere to go. Behind them, a cliff. In front, gunfire. They were trapped. And then a voice cracked through the radio, tired, broken, hopeless. "We're finished." Reese didn't argue. Because it felt true. They were done. Far away inside a half-collapsed outpost, a woman sat listening to that transmission. Sergeant Maya Trent. Support staff. Intel officer. Once a sniper. She wasn't supposed to fight anymore. After her injury, command had benched her. Too valuable for the front, they said. Translation, too broken. But as she listened to the voices begging through the storm, her hands began to shake. She remembered another mission. Another team! The same desperate words, Mtiu, and no one came, not again. She reached under the table, pulled out a long dust-covered rifle case, snapped it open inside, her old TAC 338. The steel still scarred from her last mission. She whispered to it, "You ready to work again?" She loaded one round. Then another. Then she stood and stepped into the storm. The rain hit like knives. The wind roared like jet engines. She could barely breathe, but Maya kept walking. Through the mud, up the ridge. Toward the sound of gunfire, lightning flashed. For 1 second she saw the valley below, flames, smoke, and men cornered like animals. Then darkness again. She climbed higher, teeth chattering, fingers numb. Her boots slipped on wet rock. She caught herself gasping. Then she heard it. The metallic cough of rifles down below. Short bursts, controlled, professional. The SEALs were still fighting. She tightened her grip on the rifle. Not for long, she thought. Down in the valley, Reese crouched behind a burning truck. "Ammo count," he yelled. "2 mags! 1 left. Out!" The answers came back like hammer blows. They were done. He pressed the radio again. "Command, this is Bravo 1. We need static." Nothing. A thunderclap swallowed his words. Then something else. A different sound. A single crack. High, sharp, precise, a sniper shot. One of the enemy gunners dropped instantly. Then silence. Reese blinked. What the hell was that? Another crack. Another enemy down. His second-in-command, Tyler, looked up. "Sir, that's not ours." Reese scanned the ridgeline. The storm blurred everything. But for a second, between flashes of lightning, he saw her, a lone figure. Silhouette against the white sky. Rifle steady. Maya adjusted her scope. Wind pushing left. Range 80 yards. Visibility. Garbage. She waited for lightning. Waited for that one blink of light. Flash, target. Exhale, fire. The recoil punched her shoulder, but she didn't flinch. Through the mist, another enemy fell. She shifted position, crawling on bleeding knees. Every inch uphill was a war, but she kept moving. Because below her, her brothers were dying. Reese ducked as bullets ripped through the truck. Muzzle flash. 3 o'clock. Before his men could respond, crack! The enemy gun went silent. "Whoever's up there," Tyler said, "they're saving our asses." Reese grabbed his radio again. "Unknown shooter, identify yourself." Static. Then a faint female voice. "Don't move forward. Hold the line." Reese froze. He knew that voice. Maya, flashback. 1 year ago, training camp, Arizona desert. Reese's unit, learning advanced long-range marksmanship. Instructor, Sergeant Maya Trent. Quiet, observant, eyes like lasers. The recruits called her Ghost, because she barely spoke. But every time someone missed a shot, she'd murmur, "Just 2 clicks left," and they'd hit the target dead center. During that rotation, a trainee got captured by a hostile cell. Before reinforcements arrived, Maya borrowed a rifle, climbed a tower, and took a 2,100-meter shot through crosswind. 1 shot, 1 kill. The hostage lived. That day, Reese learned what she really was. But after that mission, an explosion injured her shoulder. Command reassigned her to intel and cooking duty. And now, that same cook was turning the tide of a storm. Up on the ridge, Maya reloaded. Hands shaking, teeth chattering, scope fogging. She could barely see, but she could feel every target, movement in the mist. Footsteps in water. She timed her breath with the thunder. Crack, 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 3 shots. 3 bodies down, she whispered. That's for the ones you took before. Then her rifle jammed. Mud in the chamber. Rain choking the barrel. She slammed it once, twice, breathing hard. Come on, baby, not now. Finally, click cleared, but she'd lost her position. 3 enemies flanking her right side. Too close. Bullets snapped past her ear. She dove behind a rock, mud spraying. Her scarf ripped away. She crawled, gasping, chest burning. She thought she heard laughter through the storm. The enemy thought they had her pinned. Then she remembered that voice on the radio. We're finished. Her jaw tightened. She spat out mud and whispered, not yet. Down below, the SEALs were running out of everything. 2 rounds each, Tyler yelled. Reese nodded. Then we make them count. They prepared for one last stand, but then out of nowhere the ridge erupted again. Rifle fire, clean, timed, surgical. Enemies dropping before they could aim. Reese shouted, she's got us covered. Push left. The men surged forward, courage returning like a flood. For every bullet they fired, Maya took out 2 more enemies. It felt impossible, like the storm itself was fighting beside them. Up high, Maya's breathing slowed. She fired between thunderclaps, using the sound to hide her shots. Every pull of the trigger felt heavier. Her shoulder screamed. Her arm trembled, but her focus never broke. Then she spotted him. The enemy commander, standing near a burning truck, barking orders into a radio. She zoomed in. Range 480 meters. Wind cross. Elevation, -4 clicks. Her finger rested on the trigger. She waited for thunder. The storm built. The valley glowed white. She whispered, for the ones who never got to come home. Bang, the shot echoed through the valley. Then, silence. Only rain. Only wind. The commander collapsed. The enemy line shattered, and for the first time that night, the SEALs heard something they hadn't in hours. Nothing. No gunfire. No screams. Just the storm dying away. Reese lowered his weapon. He couldn't believe it. The battle was over. He pressed his radio. Unknown sniper, identify yourself, Static hissed. Then, team secured. Extraction en route. Hold position, Reese smiled. He knew that voice. Maya, you crazy ghost, she replied softly. Don't thank me yet. It's not over. Lightning flashed once more over the ridge. But she was gone. Only the echo of her rifle remained, rolling through the mountains like a promise that no team under her watch would ever be finished again. Rain slammed against the ridge, drowning every sound of hope. Mud swallowed the soldiers' boots. The storm was turning the valley into a grave. Captain Hayes whispered, we're finished. But then, through the smoke and rain, a shadow moved. Eleanor, the quiet sniper. She didn't flinch at the thunder. She just raised her rifle, calm eyes behind fogged glass, breath steady as stone. Her first shot split the storm in half. One flash, one scream, and an enemy spotter dropped. Another breath. Another shot. 2 more down. Inside the ruins, the men froze. She's doing it, someone whispered. She's saving us. The storm hid her. The wind carried her bullets. It was like the sky itself had chosen sides. Down below, panic spread through the enemy ranks. They fired blindly into the rain, shouting orders that vanished into thunder. Elena stayed still, focused. Every squeeze of the trigger felt like rewriting fate. Her rifle jammed once, mud in the chamber, but she cleared it with her bare hands and kept firing. Her knuckles bled. She didn't stop. A flash of memory struck her, a voice from years ago, her brother's voice. Control your breath, Ellie. Storm or not, the bullet listens only to calm. He'd never come home from his last mission. Tonight she would finish what he started. Lightning ripped across the sky. In that blinding moment she saw them, 3 enemy gunners crawling toward the ridge. She rolled, took aim through the lightning's afterglow, and fired once, twice, thrice. Silence. Only the rain spoke now. Captain Hayes stepped out, stunned. She did it, he said softly. But Elena wasn't done. She saw movement, a faint glint near the tree line. A hidden sniper. She exhaled, squeezed the trigger, and the storm seemed to hold its breath. The final shot echoed across the valley, bouncing off the cliffs like a heartbeat fading into peace. No cheers, no applause, just the rain easing into silence. Hayes looked at her, eyes wide. You just saved the entire unit." Elena lowered her rifle. "No," she whispered. "I just stopped them from finishing what they started." As dawn broke through the clouds, the valley glowed gold over wreckage and mist. The team stood quietly, watching the woman who had carried their survival in her hands. No one would ever forget that night, the night they said they were finished, until the female sniper fired through the storm. The morning after the storm was silent. Too silent. Smoke still curled from burned vehicles. The valley looked like a scar carved by war. Elena sat alone beside the ridge, her rifle resting on her knees, eyes fixed on the horizon. The sun was rising, but inside her, it was still raining. Captain Hayes walked up slowly, limping from shrapnel in his leg. He stopped a few steps behind her. "You saved us," he said quietly. She didn't answer. He tried again. "You did what most trained snipers couldn't have done in that storm." Elena's voice was barely above a whisper. "Sir, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was just intel. I wasn't supposed to take a life." Hayes looked at her. "And yet, because you did, 50 men get to go home today." She finally turned her head, eyes heavy but steady. "I didn't do it for them," she said. "I did it for him." Hayes frowned. "For who?" She stood, slinging her rifle across her shoulder. "For my brother." Flashback the sound of laughter. A young Elena, barely 20, holding a training rifle beside her older brother Jacob, a combat sniper known for his impossible accuracy. He'd taught her everything. How to breathe through chaos, how to feel the rhythm of wind. But the most important lesson? Never shoot with anger. Shoot with purpose. He never came back from his last mission in the mountains. The official report said ambush, but Elena knew something else. Someone had betrayed his team. From that day, she left the range and joined military intelligence. She wanted answers. She wanted truth. And now in that same mountain range, fate had brought her back, rifle in hand, back to the present. The unit packed what was left of their gear. Rain still dripped from the leaves, turning the dirt into soft grey sludge. Miller approached Elena. "We're heading to the extraction point. You coming?" She nodded, quiet as always. But deep inside, something was stirring. A signal she'd intercepted just before the radios went dark last night. It wasn't enemy chatter. It was something else. A voice she hadn't heard in years, Jacob's old call sign. That night, as they reached the safe zone, the storm returned. Softer this time, but still echoing like the past. The team took shelter in an abandoned farmhouse. Eleanor sat near the broken window, scanning frequencies on a damaged radio. Static, static, then a faint whisper. Echo 1. "Do you copy?" Her breath froze. It couldn't be. That was her brother's voice, recorded, distorted, but real. She grabbed the headset. "Who is this?" Silence. Then, "They lied to you, Elena. It wasn't an ambush." Her pulse quickened. "Who are you? Find the coordinates. Finish what he started." And the line went dead. She sat there, rain dripping from the ceiling onto her hands. Hayes noticed the look in her eyes, that same focus she had before the storm. "Elena," he said, "what did you hear?" She looked up, her face calm but fierce. "Nothing," she lied. "Just interference," but she knew. The storm wasn't over. It had just changed direction. That night, as everyone slept, she packed her rifle, a map, and the small metal tag she kept from Jacob's uniform. She stepped out into the mist alone. The wind howled like a warning, but her steps didn't stop. She followed the faint coordinates scribbled in her notebook, a point deep within enemy lines, a place Jacob's last mission had ended. She whispered to herself, "They said we were finished once. Let's see if they were right," and disappeared into the night. The forest was a graveyard of silence. Branches cracked under Elena's boots as she moved through the mist, her rifle tight in her hands. Each sound felt heavier now. The wind, the rustle, even her heartbeat. She was no longer part of the unit. She was on her own, her destination, an old bunker hidden inside the mountains, once used by a special operations team. Her brother's team. Every step forward was a step deeper into the truth she'd buried for years. The map led her to a ravine carved by time. She slid down, scraping her hands on wet rock, and spotted the door half buried under vines. Rust covered the hinges. A faded symbol marked the entrance, Echo Division, her brother's insignia. She took a breath and pushed it open. The smell of oil, metal, and decay hit her. Inside, torn files, broken radios, bullet holes on the wall, and in the center a photo nailed to a board. 5 soldiers. One of them was Jacob, another Captain Hayes. Her blood ran cold. She tore the photo off the board. Why was Hayes there? He'd told her he'd never met her brother. Then she saw it. A coded message scratched into the back of the picture. Not the enemy. The orders. She stepped back, heart pounding. The ambush. It wasn't random. It was planned. Someone had sent Jacob's team to die, and Hayes had known. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant like a memory returning. Elena clenched her fists. Every part of her wanted to believe Hayes wasn't part of it, but the evidence said otherwise. She loaded her rifle, eyes burning with determination. If she wanted answers, she'd have to confront him. Hours later, the sound of helicopter blades cut through the sky. The unit had returned to pick her up. Hayes was among them, standing near the landing zone, scanning for her. She stepped out of the fog, rifle slung low, face blank. He looked relieved until he saw her eyes. "Elena," he said, "you shouldn't have gone off alone." "What were you thinking?" She tossed the photo at his feet. "You tell me." He bent down, picked it up. His face went pale. "Where did you find this?" "Where you left them," she said coldly. "In the mountains." "In their graves." For a moment, neither spoke. Rain began to fall again. Finally, Hayes sighed. "You weren't supposed to find that place." "Then tell me the truth," she demanded. "Who killed Jacob?" He looked away, pain in his eyes. "It wasn't the enemy, Elena. It was command. They sent us into a trap to cover up a failed weapons deal. Jacob found out. He refused to stay quiet." Her breath caught. "So they silenced him." Hayes nodded slowly. "And I've been trying to expose them ever since. That's why I brought you here. Because I knew you'd find the truth faster than I ever could." Elena stepped closer, tears mixing with the rain. "All this time, you let me believe he died a hero." "He was a hero," Hayes said softly. "But heroes die when truth becomes dangerous." A sudden explosion ripped through the trees. The ground shook. Enemy drones, 12 of them, emerging through the clouds. Hayes shouted, "They tracked your signal." Elena ducked behind cover. "You said command wanted silence. Looks like they're still trying." He handed her an extra magazine. "Then let's make them listen." Bullets tore through the clearing. The storm returned full force, lightning flashing like a warning from the heavens. Elena took position beside Hayes, her scope glinting through the rain. She fired once, drone down. Twice, second down. A third, explosion in the tree line. Hayes covered her flank, yelling through the chaos, "You're even better than Jacob!" She didn't reply. Her focus was absolute. Every shot she fired now wasn't just survival, it was justice. Justice for Jacob, for truth, and for everyone who'd ever been silenced by lies. When the last drone crashed, the valley fell still again. Only thunder answered their breathing. Hayes turned to her, exhaustion in his eyes. "They'll come again," he said. "They won't stop." Elena reloaded. "Then neither will I." As the rain washed away the smoke, she looked at the ridge, the same one where she'd saved them days ago. But this time she wasn't saving a unit. She was saving the truth. The storm had tried to break her, but now she was the storm. The storm raged through the valley like an angry beast. Rain hammered the broken trees. Lightning split the sky. Elena crouched beside the wrecked truck, her rifle pressed to her chest. Hayes leaned against the door, blood on his sleeve but still alive. They had survived the first wave. But the enemy wasn't done. Not yet. Distant hums echoed again, heavier, closer. "Gunships," Hayes whispered. "We're out of ammo." Elena checked her last mag. "Then we'll make every bullet count." She crawled up a ridge, mud sticking to her knees. Wind howled. Thunder swallowed her breath. Through her scope she saw them. Black choppers slicing through the clouds, 12 of them. Behind them, ground troops, advancing fast. Her pulse slowed. Everything else disappeared. She whispered, "Jacob." "Guide my hand." The first shot cracked. One chopper spiraled out of control, fire blooming like a second sun. The next shot, the lead gunner down. Hayes watched in awe. Every pull of her trigger looked like poetry, written in lightning. The soldiers tried flanking left. Mistake. Elena adjusted, exhaled, squeezed. 3 down. The air was thick with smoke and thunder now, yet her calm never broke. Then came the voiceover comms. Sniper, stand down. You're surrounded. Command has issued a kill order. She froze. It wasn't the enemy. It was her own command. Hayes shouted, they're framing you, Elena. If you fire now, they'll brand you a traitor. She didn't look back. Then let them. Truth has no rank. A beam of a spotlight hit her position. Bullets tore through the mud. One grazed her shoulder, spinning her sideways. She gritted her teeth, blood dripping down her arm, and crawled back into position. Hayes yelled, Elena! She smiled faintly. I promised Jacob I'd finish what he started. She lined up the scope, through the sheets of rain, through the chaos, through the storm itself. Target, the command helicopter. The man responsible for Jacob's death sat inside. Lightning flashed. One perfect, blinding line. Elena fired. Silence, then explosion. The command chopper burst into flames, spinning out of the sky and slamming into the cliffside. The shock wave shook the valley. Hayes ducked, shielding his face. When the smoke cleared, the enemy formation scattered, no orders, no coordination. They fled. For a long moment the world stood still. Only the rain remained, and softer now, almost peaceful. Elena lowered her rifle. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from release. She looked up. The clouds parting, a thin beam of sunlight breaking through. Jacob's voice echoed in her mind. You did good, sis. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, Rest now, Jacob, it's over. Hayes limped toward her, clutching his side. You ended it, he said softly. They'll come for you, she smiled faintly. Let them. I'm done running. He nodded, eyes full of respect. You're the best sniper I've ever seen. She shook her head. I'm just a sister who refused to stay silent. The storm clouds drifted away. The valley, once torn apart by war, lay quiet under the sun. Elena walked down the hill, rifles slung across her back. Each step echoed against the wet earth, a farewell to everything she'd lost. Behind her, Hayes radioed extraction. But she didn't turn back. Some wars end with victory. Others with truth, and this one ended with her bullet cutting through a storm and rewriting history.